The concept of truth is gone. There is no truth anymore.
How do you perceive this fundamental shift? Do you see that different kind of leaders are now appealing to audiences and therefore they're coming to power? Why is that happening? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think there's like the pendulum swung, where there was that more of that, servant, empathetic leadership, and there's been a bit of a swing towards like a strongman leadership. I think it's very contextual. Like this works in some areas that there's a necessity for strong, hard decisions to be made. There is so much uncertainty. There's a lot of danger out there for many nations. But I think what a great leader does is oscillates their leadership style in conjunction with the situation that faces them. So, for instance, if you are in a situation where you need to be a directive, authoritative leadership because you don't have time to be consultative. So, for example, say we're at this conference and then we hear that somebody has Ebola, right? You need an authoritative, decisive leader that will shut down and make the hard decisions immediately. Where, on the other hand, if you hear that there's Ebola in a distant nation, you then can have a different type of leadership style, consultative, deliberative. You think about all the different, possibilities. And so a really good leader is the leader that can go from here to here and then know that their followers will trust that they are choosing the correct leadership style for that moment. So I think you need to be incredibly flexible as a leader. You can't just be one way because you'll disenfranchise a lot of people. There's so much disparity because of the advent of social media. Yeah. You have no idea someone's political orientation. Like all of the typical lines of like, you see this person, they went to that school, they were from that socioeconomic background, they're that religion, they look like this, therefore they must think this. That's gone, right? We have no idea. You can probably look at their algorithm on their phone and probably ascertain what their political orientation is. But without doing that, we don't know who you are leading anymore.
Yeah. So you made a very interesting point about social media and how leaders are perceived because of social media. And there are two kinds of views that people tend to have. One is, hey, leaders are more accessible today, and I know what to make of certain leaders' tweets. But how do you? And the other views, of course, that there's leaders can rant sometimes on social media. So how seriously do we take these words?
It is so murky.
Yeah.
The misinformation, the disinformation that's being propagated on social media, AI-generated videos, it's terrifying. I think there needs to be something, has to be done about AI, and that the concept of truth is gone. There is no truth anymore. We only have consensus. So what we know is that leaders these days, that what will win the war, win the hearts and minds of people, is that they can convince people listening that their version of the truth is more true than that other person's version of the truth, right? Truth no longer exists. And so this is why, I think this is incredibly important, and people are not talking about this enough. But all leaders should be asking themselves the question, what should we be doing? What should we be training, fostering and looking at when the marginal cost of IQ is dropping to zero? From a 4-star general to a street sweeper, you can have AI, generated information at your fingertips. The ability to have like incredibly intelligent agents with IQs over 400 at your fingertips means that the competitive advantage of having a PhD or having a professor or having this knowledge is gone. So what's left? What is left for us? What is left for leaders? What should we be doing? And I believe we should be putting a lot of investment in the human factors, social dynamics, emotional intelligence, because those things, AI is not so good at it's catching up.
Yeah.
And so we need those soft skills. I don't know why they're called soft skills, because they're quite hard for some men, particularly.
True.
But we need those soft skills more than ever to create relationships, to create bonds between nations, to understand people's, perspectives, what motivates them. These are the human skills that we need to be fostering, because intelligence is now free.
Yeah.
And we need friends. We need alliances.
Yeah.
We need psychological safety. And when you think about, really, when you break down what is really going on in the world, we have a nation state against a nation state. You have a military against a military. You have a general, a leader against a leader. But what we really do have is a very primitive human neuron banging up against another very primitive human neuron, right? When you strip everything away, that's all it is. It's a human against a human.
Yeah.
So what are the skills that we need to foster and develop?
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence is key. That's the only thing that's going to get us through, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to wrap it up, how do you, I know you highlighted EQ as a critical factor, and I think that's much needed in leaders today. But how do you see leadership play out in the coming years? How do you think global leadership is going to shape up? Yeah, I think it's going to be relation-based. And I think leaders really need to look at what is the amount of trust? Who is advising them? Can you trust them? Are they in an echo chamber? Are they getting sufficient information? And I think, psychological safety and trust and contributory dissent is important. So, for instance, I was speaking to a person who was doing research with a thoracic surgeon. And, some of these surgeons are very frightening for those who are working around them. Right. And this nurse inside the emergency room, inside the operating room, was so terrified of that leader or that surgeon that she watched that surgeon sew up a pair of scissors into the thoracic cavity of that patient, right? So I use this as an analogy. All the leaders out there, how many of you have got people in your team that are allowing you, metaphorically, to sew scissors into chest cavities? Yeah. Okay? You need to have truthful, honest, candid, probably not so good information being fed to you on a regular basis. And if you don't, you can sew scissors into people's rib cages. Yeah. And I think and so leaders need to have really good emotional intelligence going forward.